We're going to talk about effective outlining, his listed research. We're going to discuss the basic tips, tricks, and tools that you can use to get started while writing. And then, specific to you guys, we're going to talk about writing human stories, and as requested, a copywriting crash course with emphasis on social media writing. So, before we get started, let's introduce ourselves. Who am I? I am Carmelo Jeremiah Marquez Crisanto III, also known as Alex in the school. I'm the president of the Diliman Literature Club. What is the Diliman Literature Club? We are the Hume's registered Strand Club, and our agenda is to be the platform for students to express and learn how to express themselves through the three disciplines in literature, those being writing, performing, and reading analysis. In addition, the Literature Club also manages or assists in managing the school newsletter Clarion. Okay, let's dive into the lesson. So there's two things that you need to know. I'm going to teach you a bunch of things today, but what's very important to know is that the correct way to do something is the way that works. And the way that works is who you are. I'm telling you this because I want you all to take pride in your work. You're all student leaders here, so commonly we assume that you have a good sense of drive and a purpose. So apply that drive to your work, and there's no way your work will be bad. So why are we talking about article writing made easy today? You guys have a project. Let me read the description out. Let me pull it up real quick. Today, you will be learning the fundamentals of how to write what we call internet copy for an e-magazine. As stated in your project, the FU Diliman ABM community will feature students who have a business every day of Accounts and Business Week on February 2021. That's this month. You've done an interview of the participants, and you're now going to write an e-magazine focusing on the student entrepreneurs in our school. So how will you do that? Now, let's start with the basics of how to write an article. This is taught in every English class, but we're going to do a very basic, very effective two-step method for you to learn how to do this. So it all starts with effective outlining. How does effective outlining work? Especially if you're just starting out writing, it can be very hard to get into the flow of things. It's very challenging to look at a blank page and say, okay, I need 27,000 characters. Very hard to do that. So what's important to do is to break down your work. I'm going to pull up a sample article in a moment that you guys can see. Here we go. Is this the right one? Okay. Gotcha. Here we go. Okay, so now you can see my screen. So this is an example of an effective outline. When you're going to write these articles, they're all going to be about the same length. So let's say that you want your article to cover a whole page, so that might be around 900 words. And what you're going to do is you're going to break down the title of your work. So you're very lucky. You already know what you're writing about. So our example for today is going to be, this is the only one I have, so we're using it as the example. We are going to be using Rovelyn F. Julia and her business, Juana Taste. So we're going to say that our article is, oh, that's the wrong copy paste. Something's wrong with my keyboard today. Okay, Rovelyn F. Julia dash student entrepreneur. Right, there we go. And our directive is to about 900 words. What does 900 words look like? Okay, let me see. Let's get a sample work so you can see what 900 words looks like. Or maybe we can do 1,200 to get a full page. Okay, so this is about what 1,200 to 900-ish words looks like. It's gonna cover your whole page, and it's gonna leave some space for formatting. So this is how long the article that you're writing wants to be. Notice how it's segmented very simply, so that even if the whole thing is 900 words, I never have to write more than maybe 300 or 400 at a time just for a single segment. So going back to our sample outline, if we say 1,200 words to 900, we are going to segment that now into our lead. So we're going to start it with an inspirational message, and then we'll start with important data, supporting data, and a conclusion. So this is the very basic of starting to write your article. And once you have this, this is the framework through which you can perform your task. But once you have this, it's just a checklist of things that need to be done. You don't need to think too hard about what needs to go in. You can just say, I just need 400 words about the person and their BG story, right? So this is effective outlining. Now, what is the next thing we need to talk about? Hit listed research. So even though you have all the data you need, you sometimes might need extra data. For example, again, going back to the questionnaire that you provided me, she's a grade 12 Hume student who sells on Instagram, Facebook, Shopee, and Lazada. Now, let's say that you don't know what Shopee and Lazada are, or you need to find a better explanation to put in your article for the reader. What you would then do is you would go to your outline. You would go to your outline and insert a note, and I like to put it in all caps, says, add info on Lazada and Shopee. And once you have these noted down, let's say we might want more things. We might say baking basics, additional info. And then maybe we want to put some data on working from home, right? So let's say we have all of this here. And so now when I'm writing this article, I can see, okay, I need to research these 3 things. And then in a separate file, I can say, here are all of my notes ready to go into the outline. I'll say note 1, segment, lead, and then you just have a bunch of data there. So by combining these 2 things, by having an effective outline and by hit listing your research so that you only need to open your Google search bar 1 time while you're writing, you can get this 900 words, 1,200 words. If you get enough practice, you can do this in 30 minutes to an hour. So that's the very, very basics of article writing all covered. So now let's talk about something very specific to you guys. We're going to talk about how to write human stories. So what do we mean by writing human stories? You guys weren't able to do a direct interview of the people you wanted to talk about. So you only have a questionnaire of them. That means, like I showed earlier, you just have a description of their business, a short history that they wrote, and some extra things about themselves. And you want to find a way to take that data you have and turn it into an interesting story that people can care about. So the first step to do that is to extract info from the data that you have. You want to look at, so to my understanding, each writer is going to be assigned 1 person. You're going to have their questionnaire, and you're going to look at their questionnaire, and you're going to highlight, or if you're on a computer, you can use a box tool, and you're going to highlight every data point there. And what you're going to do after you've highlighted those data points is to look for correlation. So here we can see that the data points we've highlighted are the person's age, their grade level and strand, the platforms that they're on, and then the rest is why they're doing this business. So we've boxed the straight data. We know she's 18, so she can register for a business, right? But we notice that, oh, she's in Hume's. Why is a Hume student starting a business? Normally, you'd think that maybe an ABM student would do this. So while reading the rest, we look at the description of her business, and we note made with passion. That's not always just a throwaway line. When people are starting their business, they often think very hard about what they want to present to the world. So now we read the short story. And here she says that she's been baking ever since she was in junior high. and she would share the goods with her classmates, and that back then she didn't think about selling because she just really liked sharing good food with people. So that's the start. We know that she didn't plan this from the start. She's a Hume student. She's not really business savvy, right? And then we say, okay, we have that. How did she actually start then? She says, I made a poll on my Instagram story. What does that mean? This person that we're dealing with is very tech savvy. And her father supported her business. And so we can assume that maybe she's getting financial help from her dad. And we notice that in her objective, she's trying to sell high quality food at an affordable price. So again, in all of these data points that we've seen, we see that it all comes back to her being a Hume student and being passionate about what she does, rather than just doing this for a profit. Nowhere here does it say that she's doing it for a profit. So this means that we have a very good story that is just waiting to be told. Why? Why do we have a good story that's waiting to be told? What we've done is we've isolated her story into data points, and those data points are what you're going to use to build an even bigger story. And so now we're going to talk about building a narrative. So we have all these individual data points. Oops, what happened? Okay, there we go. Now we have all these individual data points, and we've already talked about their correlation. Now we're going to get into a bit of an interactive session. Let me just move my camera so you guys can see this better. And oopsies. Where am I? There I am. Okay. So here we have this. So we've discussed that she isn't in this for profit. She is doing this because it makes her friends happy, and she's very social media savvy. So I would like one of you to tell me what you think. What a good story. What good story can we make from this data that we have? So this is creative nonfiction at its peak. Okay, Angela. Hello? Did you mean
Wait
to?
lang.
Okay.
um, mm, um, hindi ko masabi pero alam ko yung sasabihin ko, di ko masabi. Wait lang.
That's okay. So take your time. I'm just going to keep talking. I want all of you
Sige.
to think about a way that you could spin this story into something that people want to read. So what we're doing here is we're not writing fiction. We take these data points that are true and we give them emotion that people want to read. So that's what you're trying to do here. Let me just see the rest of her questionnaire. The other questions that you've asked these people, they all have an agenda when you ask them. You ask them, what was your first product? You ask them, what challenges did they encounter in starting their business? You talk to them about how they coped with the pandemic, and you ask them for advice. So here you're trying to build this idea that the student entrepreneurs in our school are role models. So you have to take this data that they've given you and try to figure out how to turn that data into an inspirational story that will convince your fellow students to start their own business and be financially literate in this world. So, yeah, if anyone wants to give an idea on how they would tell this story.
Um, maybe we could, Rovilyn kasi, friend ko siya since high school,
Mm-hmm.
since grade 7. Then, feeling ko, we can start with ano, yung background niya kung paano siya nag-start mag-bake. Kasi puwede, and kung paano siya nag-start mag-bake ta's kung ano yung nag-push sa kanya. Then, kung ano yung kasama naman diyan, then ilalagay din natin kung ano yung mga challenges na, um, na naranasan niya, ngayong, ah, COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, so we're trying to build a story about a girl who has a background in baking, who starts a business during a pandemic, and we're going to talk about how she overcomes them. So what you're going to do then, now that we have that idea in mind, right? Now we're going to go back to our outline. Okay? We have Rovelyn F. Julia, student entrepreneur. So now we're going to take those ideas that you said and we're going to turn them into an outline that we can use in our article. Okay. Here we go. Better over here. So here we go. We're gonna start with, so the lead of your article is what draws people in. This is the opening statement. Sometimes you're going to have a thesis statement here, but what's often more effective on the internet is an emotional appeal. So we're going to start with an emotional appeal. We're not going to write the paragraph. We're going to give the paragraph a title. So we say that we want about 120 words in this lead, and we're going to call it how it all started, right? So gonna make it bigger. There we go. So that's going to be our lead. It's going to be 120 words. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write a short description of what I want to be in there. So this doesn't just work if you're trying to get ready to write for yourself. If you want to assign someone to write something, giving them an outline means that they have a concrete path to follow, so that you will always get the article that you want out. So how it all started, and we're going to say BG of Miss Julia in baking and business, if any, plus how she never planned to start selling until now. And then in the body, we're going to, so in news, this would be important data, but we're going to call this body 1, and we're going to say it's 400 words. So here we're going to, okay, there we go. Here we're going to put, what did you say? Yeah, okay. So if we talked about how she started, if we talked about what happened before she started, we're going to say how she got going. Okay, and then we're going to talk about the life of the person. And we've already talked about their background, so we don't need to talk about it again. Okay, so we've talked about the life of the person during the pandemic and what personal advantages she used to start to kickstart her business. Okay, and so now, based on just these two, I can see that the baking basics should be all the way over here, and that the info on Lazada, Shopee, and online retailing in general. Okay, and then in our body 2, what can we write in our body 2? We can write about the problems she encountered. If we start how it all started, how she got going, how she never gave up. So here we're gonna say this is going to be an emotionally evocative segment on the major challenges she faced and how she overcame them. And you're gonna have data on working from home and, let's say, burnout. All right? And so there, that's our article. And now we're going to end it in our conclusion. We want to write something called a CTA. I'll explain what that is in a bit. Well, there we go. And here we have to get people excited to start their own business, And we also want and have them look up to her as a role model, right? So there, in just, I think that was 5 minutes. Now we've made the plan for the whole article, and all we need to do now is insert pictures and fill in our word count. So if we're going to say this is 900 words, if this is 800 to 150 words, so 150 plus 400 is 550, plus 300 is 850, and then the conclusion being about 100 words makes it about 900 to 1000. words. So now we've got the perfect outline with our research all planned out. And so what you would do after this is you would put these research notes. You would say, okay, you would do that, and you would copy paste that in order, and then you would have your notes go here, and then sources go here. So it's always important whenever you're searching something and you're taking data that was not in your original piece of data. In this case, if it wasn't originally in the questionnaire, if you're maybe getting Shopee consumer data on how much people started using Shopee, for example, you want to put that source in your notes and save your notes in a separate file. Even if you're not publishing your source on the paper itself, it's important to remain accountable and to have that source there. So if in the future, if you do make a mistake, you can go back and see, wait, why was that wrong? Okay, never use this website for sources again, for example. So that's the basics of how to write an article. And after this, we're going to move on to the basics of online copywriting. Before we move on, however, I will now open the floor if there are any questions.
Um, yung sinabi mo kanina about yung sa Shopee or Lazada, nakalimutan mo, rating ba yun? Include natin siya, 'di ba? Um, kasi na-gets ko kung paano gawin yung sa Lazada and Shopee. Eh, what if kapag yung business nila is through Facebook marketplace lang, gano'n?
Okay, so let's say, for example,
Puwede bang
um, let's
sorry.
say let's
Ah,
we're talking about Julia, right? So, her business is through Facebook Marketplace, and in the article, you want to make a point that a lot of people are selling on Facebook Marketplace. What you'll do is you'll search for an article when you're researching. You'll search for an article that supports that statement. You'll say, how many people are using Facebook Marketplace? You'll type that out. And you're going to find an article that says, um, Facebook says this is the percentage amount of users using Facebook Marketplace. And you're going to incorporate that into your narrative. So what you're doing is you're taking the story that you have that has the data that she gave you from her story, and then you're giving context to the audience so that the audience understands, what is Facebook Marketplace? How does it work? Oh, a lot of people are using it, so it's really relevant. That's the purpose of adding data like that into the article.
ano, kasi she also have feedbacks na message sa kanya. Puwede niya naman i-share sa'tin. How can we write that
How would we write
about
that in? Okay, so let's go back to our notes. Let's go back to our notes here. Let's say now we want to talk about how she never gave up. So we maybe how she overcame them. And then maybe we'll say one of the ways she overcame the struggle was supportive feedback from customers. And then, so we have this in our notes, so we know maybe we'll write 1 to 2 sentences about it, and then maybe insert image question mark, and maybe you're going to insert an image with the context blurred out of, wow, I loved your product so much, something like that, something inspirational. So what you're doing there is, again, this outline is the base for everything. This is all the essential information that you're wanting to put in. And for each of you, when you get your own questionnaire that you're going to write about, you're going to make an outline just like this. And when you have that basic info, once you've written it out, for example, uh, when we just talk about her personal advantages, that's probably only going to be 200 words. You're going to have space in your word limit to add in additional data or additional lines to give the story more emotion, to make the story feel more human. And so what you talked about with Facebook, that's one of the ways that it could be done. Like here we said add info on online retailing. Maybe she doesn't use Lazada and Shopee at all. We'll just remove that and say maybe Facebook marketplace. So what you're doing there is, so you personally, let's say for Angelo specifically, he already knows Revelin personally. So he doesn't need the context of what is Facebook Marketplace, how does online selling work, how do people order these, how does she deliver them. You know that, but the person reading that might not know that. So what you're doing is you're giving them context so that they emphasize, so that they feel for the character in your story, in this case, Rovelyn. You're trying to make them care about her and her challenge, and you want them to see, oh, she didn't give up, I shouldn't give up too on my dream of, I don't know, selling cakes online. So that's the kind of context you're trying to give to them. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So before we move on to our next segment, so that's everything about article writing. I'll let you guys think if you have any more questions to ask. That's everything we're going to talk about regarding article writing. Now, Angela requested to also include a section on social media advertising, which is called copywriting. So we're going to do that in a while. But before we do that, I'd like to know your backgrounds with writing and advertising. So I think you're all ABM students. So have you ever done any advertising work before? Have you ever maybe, tried to do a fundraiser drive for a club, something like that? So I'd like to know each of you, that's Angela, Kath, and Kuro. I'd like to know what kind of writing you've done before. It's okay even if you just did for school. And I'd like to know how proficient you think you are at writing. So if you don't want to open your mic, you can just put it in chat. And go ahead.
Um, sa akin kasi, dati nagsusulat ako sa hmm, school newspaper pero, advertising, may baka may part dati sa mga activity namin sa grade 11 ABM na, advertising part pero hindi ako gano'n ka, um, familiar. Gagawin ko lang siya kasi required pero
Mm-hmm.
hindi hindi ko alam yung ginagawa ko,
Okay.
gano'n. I mean, wala akong idea kung tama ba yung ginagawa ko basta ginagawa ko lang siya kasi pang school lang pero
Okay. So in school, you get to learn ideas. What's fun about the real world, or even just about these club activities, you get to test them. So, especially since I know you'll be posting majority of this on Facebook, your analytics will actually let you see how effective what you're going to write is going to be. So I'd like to hear from oh, she keeps dropping out of the meeting. I'm gonna assume she has bad internet. At least if we could
yes,
hear from
yes,
Kuro.
kanina pa siya nagdi-disconnect, eh.
So don't worry, I'll try to upload this recording as soon as possible, so she could probably just watch it back. I'd like to hear from Kuro. If you have any background in advertising or writing in general, etc. You can just type it out, or if you need some time, just type one, and we'll move on with the lesson while you're thinking about it. Okay, what are we at? 20 minutes. Yeah, good. Okay, while we're waiting for him, now we're going to move on to our segment on copywriting. So we're going to take a really quick copywriting crash course. So who can tell me what copywriting means?
Wala kaming idea.
No? Okay. So I'm surprised you guys didn't learn this. This is so copywriting, as defined, is the act or occupation of writing text for the purpose of advertising or marketing. So essentially, a copywriter is someone who writes stories for the purpose of selling things. If you've ever heard a jingle on TV, I don't know, Jollibee Delivery, the one who wrote that is a copywriter. If you've ever seen a Globe advertisement where they say, watch Blackpink using Globe data, that is copywriting. The person who wrote the script for the Jollibee commercial that everyone likes showing in class for some reason, that is copywriting. Copywriting is any form of writing used for advertising. And I'm actually really excited to teach this because I've been copywriting for about 3 years, freelance on the internet. So that's what copywriting is in essence. And copywriting has two key features. When you're making an advertisement, you want it to be attractive and engaging. What does this mean? So let's take, for example, a Facebook a Facebook post. So I'm just gonna pull up Facebook right now, and let's take, for example, the student coordinating boards page, the FU Diliman student coordinating board. Let's go here. Hi Shanley, I'm about to leak all of your personal data. I'm joking. How do we go to posts? Share these things. Ooh, I have no idea. I don't really use Facebook. Hmm. Uh, just give me a second, guys. They changed something with their Facebook page. Okay, so here we go. So now, as you can see, a Facebook page. So this is my club's Facebook page, and we don't really promote this a lot. So we have like 40 people liking and following. But here we have, this is what you guys will probably end up posting, right? You're going to have here the main article in the middle, and then you're going to have the 3 extra pages on the side. I remember this was discussed to me. So
Yes, yes.
these pages
Ganyan.
are going to be your actual articles. But this text up at the top, this is the copywriting. This is the text that will convince them. What they'll do is the picture will catch their eye, but this text here is the copy. That's what so if you're copywriting, the product is called copy. This is the copy that will draw people to read your thing or buy your thing. So here we can see that our goal is to get you to click on this link, right? That's the product. We're selling this link because we're selling this writing course. So how do we do this? What we do is we have a very attractive, standout image. We have this image with our logo in the background and big bold text saying, hey, learn about this. And then in our copy itself, we're using timeliness. This January, so they know, oh, it's happening soon, says the person reading this. The Diliman Literature Club, maybe you don't really know us, but is partnering with the student coordinating board. Oh, you know them. Now you're interested, right? To bring you exciting ways to explore literature like never before. Oh, like never before. So you're saying it's something I don't know? Tell me more. And then it's saying, join us as we help you bring out your inner potential as a writer in multiple exciting programs, covering everything from essay writing to Wattpad stories to working full-time as a freelance writer. Each class is available to senior high and junior high students and has limited slots, so make sure to sign up soon. And then, to drag them in, we say, signups are still open at bit.ly/Diliman. So using that kind of spiel, so imagine if it was a radio ad, it would have been read out somewhat like that. We've written it so that we're telling you what's in the class and we're telling you why you want to join, and then we're making it really, really easy for you to join in on what we're trying to sell you. So that's attractiveness. That's the second thing you need is engagement. You need people to like and to share your article. So you can do that in 2 ways. You can get artificial and organic engagement. Artificial engagement is when you submit your APF to Sir RJ, and Sir RJ says, okay, let's cross-post this to all the FEU club pages. That's artificial engagement. Now, real engagement is when your thing is so attractive that people like it on their own, they share it to their own page. And I know this one was pretty successful because this one that I just showed got about 20 shares in total, including shares of shares. So you can see that in your analytics after you've posted, if you posted on Facebook. And so the next 2 terms that we want to talk about whenever we're talking about social media is click-through rate and addiction. I know some of these words are scary, but hear me out. They can be used for good things. So click-through rate, you'll commonly hear this from YouTubers. And it's a way to determine the success of an advertisement. So click-through rate is a ratio of how many people saw your post to how many people clicked on your post. It's a very different thing to, so if I refresh this Facebook page to show you guys, here we go. So it's a very different thing for you to just see this page, right? You see the page, you see the post, and Facebook actually knows when you stopped scrolling, so they know that I'm looking at this. but I haven't engaged with it yet. So click-through rate is how many people saw it versus how many people clicked on see more because they wanted to see this link, or how many people clicked on these pictures so that they could read them better. That's click-through rate. And it's a metric for success. It's what you want to be driving up while you're making these. So how do you drive up your click-through rate? That's very simple. There's a very fun quote by, I'm not sure who said it, so I will try to cite that later, that there are only two industries that call their customers users. The first industry that calls its customer user is hard drugs, you know, and the second industry that calls their, their customers users is the tech industry. That's us. We're working in the digital landscape. So how do we get someone addicted to our content? If I post, if you post all your e-magazine on one day, no one is going to read it. Why? Because, oh, it's just there, the supply isn't limited. I can always go back to it, and then they'll never come back to it. If you'll notice in the other one, we said that this class has limited slots, but we didn't say how many slots. So there's mystery there. They're like, oh, I better sign up. What if the slots run out? The secret is there never was a limit to the slots. We were just what's the ABM word? Yeah, we were just manipulating the supply and demand of the market by creating artificial scarcity. And that's what you're trying to do with your advertisement. To get them addicted, you want to say, hey, did you like the article we posted today about Rovel and Julia? Can't wait to hear about the next student entrepreneur. Make sure to check our Facebook page tomorrow, and then you post the next thing tomorrow, and you become the only place where they can get that thing that they want, and they're just going to keep on coming back to you. So, what you need to do then to build a good click-through rate, the crux, or the most important part of every advertisement, every piece of copy, is something called the CTA. So I talked about the CTA when I was talking about the article. What is the CTA? The CTA stands for the call to action. When you read an advertisement, you don't hear, hey, Globe has new promos. You hear, hey, buy Globe's new promos now. The call to action is the instruction in your advertisement that is telling the user what you want them to do. So in the case of the Diliman Literature Club, our call to action is sign up soon, and then sign up here, and we make it really easy for them to click the link. There's no friction. They don't need to go to a different site. They just need to click that link and they're signed up. That's what you're trying to do by building that's how you get them addicted. That's how you get the engagement. But how do you make a good call to action? You make the four things that embody a good call to action are first, it should be simple, short, clear, and instructive. What does that mean? Simple, I should be able to do it without thinking. I should just be able to click on that link. I want to read this again. It should be short so that, I don't have to spend too much brain power reading it. It should be clear. There shouldn't be any technical jargon. All right, it should just be really grade school English, and it should be instructive. Don't leave it up to interpretation. Say, follow this page so you can read more e-magazines from the FEU Diliman ABM community. That's what you want in your call to action. That's how you get people to read your article, to stay on your article, to keep coming back to your page. And that wraps up our discussion for today. To recap, we discussed the basics of article writing and the two fundamentals, those being effective outlining and hit-listed research. We had a quick crash course on copywriting where I told you guys about the call to action and the elements that make a good advertisement. And then we also talked about how to extract human stories from points of data. Before we end, I'm going to talk about some quick tips and tricks that you can start applying right now that won't just help you with writing your articles for this project. This will help you write every thesis paper and every school assignment, and even get into a messenger fight with your friends for the rest of your life. Here we go. So there's two very simple websites that you need to use. Here we go, window capture one. The first website is Grammarly. So out of all the online spell checkers, Grammarly is the most efficient because it doesn't instantly correct you. So once you sign up for this, it becomes what you call I don't think they're called widgets. I think it's an add-on for Chrome. So what that means is if I go to Google Docs, okay, if I go to, here we go, the article that we were making earlier, and I turn on Grammarly, what Grammarly is going to do is it's going to pre-read this whole thing for me. Once the website loads, there you can see in the bottom right, there's that little green thing. And what it's going to do, what's great about Grammarly is that instead of correcting it for you, it's going to tell you, hey, this is what we think is wrong. And this lets you review it. This will let you review the edit every time before you make the edit. And it even tells you what the problem might be. So it also helps you learn. Now, the second thing is a bit more specific. And it's a website called blank.page. Again, that's blank.page. So what is it for? So here we said that we want our lead to be 80 words, right? How it all started. So what I can do is come into here, and so blank.page is a writing tool. It lets you write. What's really fun is here you have a word goal. So I want to write 80 words, and I want to say I only want to write 80 words for 10 minutes. Why? Well, there's a law called the Parkinson's law, and it states that work expands to fill the time given to it. It doesn't matter if your teacher gives you 3 months or 2 weeks for your thesis project, you're going to get it done either way, right? So if you give yourself an artificial deadline, not only will your work come out faster, you're actually more likely to have better work because your focus gets concentrated in a short amount of time. So I'm going to give us a 1-minute timer to write 80 words. And in the bottom of the screen, I want you guys to pay attention to the bottom of the screen. You'll notice a blue bar going up. What is that blue bar? That blue bar is how many words I've written. And the red bar is how much time I have left. So what this lets you do is you learn to outpace the timer and type words faster than the time is running out. And you'll also notice that even on this page, Grammarly is still checking my spelling. So those are the basic, those are the 2 tools that you want to learn how to use that will make writing so much easier. You can apply that. Grammarly will work in your messenger, and you can use blank.page for your essay assignments, if you're writing a college essay, if you're taking a test that has an essay, or even for technical assignments that are just short answer. Because having good grammar and good punctuation and spelling mechanics really makes your article look great. So that's everything we're discussing for today. Do we have any questions?
Wala naman.
Okay, great.
Wala po.
Great. So I'm gonna end our recording here.